Hey there, and welcome. We've all been there, right? You're standing in a puddle of shower water, waiting and waiting for a drain that just refuses to cooperate. Well, in this explainer, we're going to uncover exactly why that happens, how you can fix it, and, most importantly, how to stop it from coming back.
Ugh, you know that feeling, don't you? You finished your shower, you turn off the tap, but the water, it just goes nowhere. You're left standing in this murky little pool, and all you can do is watch it drain just so slowly. It's got to be one of the most common and annoying household problems out there.
And look, if this is happening to you, you are definitely not alone. Seriously, clogged bathtub drains are one of the most frequent plumbing issues people face. So what's really going on down there in your pipes?
All right, let's pull back the curtain and meet the usual suspects. Because honestly, understanding what's causing the blockage in the first place is the first big step to defeating it for good.
When you look at this list, it's kind of surprising how simple the culprits really are. It's not some crazy, complex chemical reaction happening down there. Nope. It's usually just a nasty buildup of everyday stuff. Hair, of course, is the #1 offender. Then you've got soap scum, mineral deposits if you have hard water, and yeah, even the occasional small object like a toy or a bottle cap that takes a wrong turn. But this right here, this highlights the real villain of the story, soap scum. You should think of it as the sticky, nasty glue of the drain world. What happens is, the fats in your soap react with minerals in the water, and that creates this waxy, gross substance. A few strands of hair might wash away on their own, but when they get tangled up in that filmy soap scum, well, that's when they clump together into a solid blockage that just will not budge.
Sometimes though, the problem isn't just about what's going down the drain, but the drain itself. If you're in an older home, you might have aging pipes, or maybe the fittings are a little too narrow. You can even have sags in the drain line that create a low point where all that debris just loves to collect. And even poor venting in your plumbing system can slow everything down, creating a sort of vacuum that keeps water from flowing like it should.
So how do you catch a clog before it becomes a complete disaster? Well, your drain will almost always give you a heads up. Learning to spot these early warning signs is absolutely crucial.
Okay, first and most obvious sign, standing water. This is the one we all know and hate. If you're consistently left with a small pond at your feet after you shower, yep, you've got a clog in the making. Now, before you get that standing water, you'll probably notice slow drainage. You might not be timing it with a stopwatch or anything, but you just get that feeling that things are taking longer. That's your drain trying to tell you that its pathway is getting narrower and narrower. And listen up for this one, gurgling sounds. When you hear that weird bubbling noise coming from the drain, that's a classic sign that air is getting trapped by the clog and is fighting to escape. That gurgle, it means your blockage is becoming pretty significant. So here's the crucial point. Don't ignore these signals. As this quote says, acting on a slow drain is so much easier and cheaper than having to deal with a full-blown backup and, potential water damage. Nobody wants that.
Okay, so how do we fight back? Well, the best strategy is always a good defense. Let's talk about how to stop these clogs before they even have a chance to form.
And you're going to love this, because it really comes down to two incredibly simple habits. First, get a fine mesh drain screen or a hair catcher. It is the single best, easiest thing you can do to physically stop hair and other gunk from ever entering your pipes. Second, about once a week, just flush the drain with a pot of really hot water. This helps dissolve and wash away that sticky soap scum before it can build up and turn into that nasty glue.
This slide lays it out perfectly. Do perform regular, gentle cleaning. And do use simple tools like a plunger or a basic drain snake if you notice things are slowing down. But, and this is a big one, don't reach for those harsh chemical cleaners as your first move. Sometimes they can actually make the problem worse by just pushing the clog deeper into your plumbing, where it becomes way harder to remove. But of course, sometimes prevention isn't quite enough and a clog just gets too stubborn for your average DIY methods. And you know what? Knowing when to wave the white flag and call for help is just as important.
So that's the big question, isn't it? You've tried the hot water, you've tried the plunger, maybe even a little drain snake, but nothing. It's not working. When do you finally pick up the phone?
Here's your simple checklist. If the clog is persistent, it just will not go away, it's time. If your basic attempts with a plunger or snake have totally failed, it's time. And most importantly, if you manage to clear the drain only for the same exact problem to come back a few weeks later, it is definitely time to call for backup. A recurring problem is a huge sign of a deeper issue.
And this is why.
A professional plumber isn't just bringing a more powerful tool. They're bringing expertise. They can diagnose those underlying problems we talked about before, things like pipe damage, venting issues, or a massive blockage that's way down the line, far beyond the reach of any tool you have.
And that leaves us with a final thought to consider. That annoying, slow-draining tub, it might just be a simple hair clog, but it could also be the very first symptom of a much bigger, more complex issue lurking deep in your home's plumbing system. So pay attention to the science, because what your drain is trying to tell you might be a lot more important than you think.